So yeah, so just getting things started here. And today's objectives, as I said, I want to sit down with the goals in mind for my session, whether it's an hour session, a 2-hour session, figure out what's going to work for you within that time frame. I want to try maybe for about an hour and a half today. And what I want to do is I want to add another part, maybe 1 or 2 more parts to the arrangement, and then start fleshing out the actual song sections. And then if I have time, I'm going to drag the song sections into the arrangement view and start working on finalizing, getting closer to finalizing the drum parts with some cymbals and drum fills. I'm not sure if I'll get to that point, but definitely my objective today is to add another part and get the song sections fleshed out. The introduction, the chorus, the post-chorus, in an order, so the actual song section orders. So, and with that, I need to launch my session and get ScreenFlow going here. So ScreenFlow's rolling, GoPro's going, and let me start a session file here. Open my session file, let's see wherever I stored it, and then I gotta, first thing, since I'm working with this analog gear, I need to make sure that everybody's on the right patches. Also, I've mentioned this in my last session as well. I like to make sure that I'm saving versions. So this is my song. Well, before I started with my song 1A, and then now this is my song 1B that I just opened. And the next one, I'm going to just go ahead and start right out of the gate here by saving it as my song 1C. And so save live set as. Make sure it's in the same folder as the 1A and 1B versions. And I've always got something I can jump back to if I need to. And these aren't saving any of the audio files within the song file. So some songs like Logic has the ability to do this, and so does Reason have the ability to save all of its audio files within the actual song file. So that can get pretty big if you're saving 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E, and every single one is like 600 and 1.2 gigabytes. That can get kind of over. That can get to be a lot, but it's still worth doing it. And hard drive space is cheap, so I'd rather have a backup than not. So the first thing I need to double check here is my monologue, and remember I'm using the information on these, so I know what my patch is. Swing this around here so I can show you what I'm doing with the get info. So my monologue, I can edit info or get info text on it, opens it up here. And it tells me that my patch was B13, so I make sure that over here on my monologue, I have selected B13. And there it is on my monologue. B13 on the monologue. What else we got here? The ESQ1 is patch 11, and I was using, so with the ESQ1, I use sequences to set up everything that's going on here. So I want to jump to my sequence button here, and then make sure that I'm in sequence 4, which is the one I was using. Snaps and J10. And then I was also using, I hadn't decided for sure on this patch, but I was using patch on the DW8000. the DW8000. Let's get info on that one. That's right, I had tuned that one. That's where I left off last time. I thought I put down what the patch was, and this is not super important. So I guess we'll find out. What we have. This is strange. Maybe I didn't save it because I definitely put down what the patch was, edit text info on that, but I don't know what I did with it. So, all right, and of course the drums are already in here because I sampled them. So that makes that one easy. And we'll just press play here. So we got. And right now, all we've got is the DW8000 coming. I mean, sorry, the monologue, the Korg monologue coming through my patch bay. So I think I might have changed some patches since last time I was here. Usually, when I'm working on a song, I don't wait the whole week before I get back to working on it. So I need to find out where my ESQ1's coming in real quick. Hold on. So my ESQ1, so this is the great troubleshooting thing here. If you're not hearing something, and I'm like over here, so over here, I'm like, well, you know, my ESQ1 isn't putting out any sound, so I'll just come over here and play it. It's one thing about having actual keys on the keyboard. And it's actually going through my preamp, and it's coming into my session, which is great. That's what I want it to be doing. But it's clearly not getting its MIDI data. Because if it was getting MIDI data, it would be responding and playing, which means I better go check my MIDI I/O setup. And I mentioned this previously. I'm constantly losing my MIDI I/O setup, and there's the problem. Because I had to reboot this machine a couple times because Live was giving me some issues, I've lost my MIDI I/O setup, and so this is this constant problem with this thing going off, and I have not been able to track down the exactly why it's doing it. So I want to get rid of some of these ghosts. I'm going to get rid of that one, and there's the actual active one. Has decided that it's 3 is what's active. So before I do something radical, I'm going to actually see if I can get it to be re-recognized here. All right. So when I end up with this situation, I'm sort of now I've lost everybody. Delete that. So right now it's just sitting here trying to find it, and it didn't find it. So hold on, I have to reboot this. I'm gonna have to crack this box open. So I'm actually gonna cold boot it. I'm not actually going to try and restart it. I might shut the computer down and then wait 5 seconds and then actually restart from there. And the reason why I'm doing that, oops, I forgot to switch cameras. Let's see here. Come here, camera. Sometimes you can physically unplug and replug a USB cable to get the port to wake up and be recognized. But this is a desktop computer, and the plug's way in the back of the desk. I'm not going to be able to reach it, so I just have to restart it. Relaunch live. The worst thing when you're sitting down and you want to do some music and your program won't start for some reason. Generally speaking, if you're working on a piece of hardware, 99% of the time your hardware is going to start. With software, gotta say it's probably more like 80% of the time, which is much better than it used to be. So let me start ScreenFlow again. Switch cameras here while ScreenFlow is starting. Before I do anything, I'm going to check and make sure that my port has woken up. And it is there, but it is not connected. For some reason, it's not connecting, which means that I have to go in here and manually connect it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in here and manually connect it. So what I've done, and the reason why I did this, for anybody who's having a problem with a port falling asleep on one of these computers and your MIDI I/O, is I've created a duplicate. And this duplicate, which means basically that I can delete this one, and I still have information about where all of these cables are being routed, which just makes it super easy. Because the last thing you want to do is have to go find a piece of paper or something and remember. So always having this duplicate here just gives me the ability to always have a copy that is available for me to reconnect. So as you can see, this is pretty fast to reconnect here. And these are all these things here, these are all my external MIDI gear. I've got to have my MIDI inputs and outputs, at the very least a MIDI output to the gear. But if I want to do any sysx information, save patches, I need to have in and out. There's all kinds of devices in my studio that are hooked up. Somebody asked if all my devices were hooked up, and yes, here you go. This is the MIDI connections for all my devices. And this particular MIDI port has an extra output port here. And so that one is going over here. There. And that's it. So now it's connected. So I'll just leave that there, and now we'll launch live. Try it again, and this time, let's go to my Open Recent Sets. Is C. It's the one I had just opened, and there it is. And this time we should hear that ESQ1 should be up and rolling. Matter of fact, I could just arm the track here, probably. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's right. So I broke the connection on my MIDI ports. So I have to, it's still MIDI port 9, but I have to go back in here because now it's MIDI I/O 3 instead of MIDI I/O 2. There it is. Same thing with this one. Actually, that one's just a MIDI track, so then it would be MIDI I/O 3 port 9. And there, that should be it now. Start that with the same loop. Getting some extra notes in there. This is I/O 10. So MIDI port 9, 10 up. Those are off. Monologue is on. Need that. Monologue is on sound. Checking some of the individual loops now. definitely have to watch that with the when you're working with the external synths. The ESQ1, I have two sounds happening with ESQ1. So the bells, this is the performance for the bells here, and that's fine. And then the performance for the snaps is actually supposed to be on MIDI channel 2. So when I reassigned this, I actually left it on MIDI channel 1, so it's playing the bells, the wrong note in the bells. So now if I play this, all right, now we're up and running. And the first thing I'm going to do, what I want to do is, I want to find the sound that I want to use, the pad sound that I want to use on the DW8000. And I was pretty close before. I think it was 35 or something, 34, 35. So I just need to flip through the sounds here and find. I just need to find what I want to use, which is not that one. I think it was 34, so I'll start in the 30s here. $35 is pretty good. That's a cool sound. One is pretty cool. Not quite what I'm looking for, I don't think. think let's see. I'm going to increase the resonance on this if I can, and then I think I'll be happy with it. Pull the keyboard out a little bit so I can see its parameters here. The DW8000 has all the parameters written up here, so they're pretty easy to get to. So I hit parameter button over here, and then I look up like where is my filter, voltage controlled filter, attack, decay. So cutoff here, 31 is what I'm looking for. So parameter 31 says it's at a value of 44 right now. That's nice. Maybe I can try the resonance a little bit, which is 32. Resonance right now value is at a 0. So I turned from 44 to 50 on the filter cutoff. Open the filter up a little bit. That sounds sweet there. So that's so I opened up the resonance a little bit, give it a little bit more grit, and that was so I went from 0 to 9, and now I'm going to write that. I'm going to write it to the same spot because those are nice strings, but I definitely want them to be a little bit grittier there. So I'll write them back. So I hit the write button. It asks me what program number, 32. There it is. Done. Sound design, old school. Let's get this in a little bit more. I'm pretty, generally speaking, try to be pretty delicate with these guys because they're old. And I don't want to slam them around, end up like damaging a circuit board or something. So now I'm going to head over here and fine tune my performance on the string part here. That sounds really nice. However, actually, I'm thinking that I might like a little bit more attack on them and a little bit more release. So again, I'm going to head back over here. I probably shouldn't have tucked it in already, but because I cannot see it when it's tucked in. And you know, this stuff, this information that I'm giving you right now, I'm doing it on an actual physical synthesizer. But you could also, this is the same type of thing if you're hearing it inside of your virtual synth. If you're using Massive or something, you should be able to go in and do the same type of adjustments. Like, hey, you know, I'm not too sure about the attack on it. So hit parameter, and that would be my voltage controlled my amplifier. So attack is 51, VCA. It's got an 11. Let's try turning that down. 4 sounds nice. And my release is 56. 56. 56. 15. Let's try turning that up. I have increment, decrement values on here too, so I can just go up. Press play, make sure it sounds okay. So, and that's super important when we're talking about, when we're talking specifically about setting some of these parameters here. The whole point is that I press play over here and make sure that the parameters in my synth match the tempo of my music. So I wanted that release time to last almost to the point where I had my next whole note, but not quite so long that would drag over, and then I end up with some nasty sounding harmonics between the two chords being played as the release time goes over on top of those chords. And this sounds perfect here. So it gets released and then played, released and then played. And so make sure I write this here. Again, I'm going to write this to patch 32. Boom. And I'll slide this old baby back in. If you're really smooth, you know, and I would love to have somebody to come out and like build some synth racks for me that have sliding tables. There was a guy in one of my classes who did that. It's carpenter, and he built these sliding synth racks so you could just pull the table out, make adjustments, push it back in. That's the way to go. All right. Now that I'm happy with that, I will go back here and work on this. It sounded okay. They're just basic chords for this sections. I want to adjust the inputs on my preamp so this is a little bit more even here on this one. So I've got it short in my right side. you notice the way that the levels are leaning off to one side, and that's okay if the sound is stereo. If it sounds mono, obviously you want them perfectly matched. But I'm okay with it leaning to one side a little bit. I think the short was actually in just a bad cable connection. When I reconnected the cable, it sounded okay, so I'm just going to double check that. I was just checking the tuning and making sure. Sometimes you'll get a distortion will come out of an analog output at different frequencies. So, but that's all sounding good now. I'm not going to touch those jacks and see if I can get that recorded. All right. Live has this cool thing here where what I can do is duplicate these. Allows me to work on different song sections. So I'm going to write an intro now. I want to keep it pretty simple. I'm also done for the moment with these. Move these out of the way here. I'm going to rename this intro. And I think I will start with a kick drum. Sorry, I keep going to my other screen. I won't do that. This will be great because I can mute these and just see what just the kick drum sounds like by itself here. And I think I'll start with save the snare for the chorus sections and then just use a clap for right now, which means that I already have it listed up here as clap 1. So I'll grab the snare drum. I'm going to put it on the 2 and 4 as well and mute that. I'm going to relabel this one intro. I'm going to hide some stuff here, give myself a little bit more space to work with. So that's 4 bars. I want to do a full 8 length. I'm thinking it'd be nice to come in with the bass next, or maybe some bells. So I'll call this intro A. I'm going to duplicate this through, and this will be my intro B. So what do I have playing here? Or actually the snaps might be kind of cool too to bring those in. It's a little busy though. Got this. I like that, and then like a little tom fill, and then into the first verse. All right. So this is going to be verse 1 here. And I definitely want to keep in terms of right now, because I'm just working with building these song sections, so I don't even need the faders here, so I can turn those off, give myself plenty of room to work with here. And this one here, I actually I like the hi-hats coming in there. I think, I'm not sure, but we'll relabel this verse 1. And verse 1 over here. I'm going to open this up here and definitely want to go with the claps for the first verse. Not bring in the snare drum yet. So I'll scoot that up to my claps here. sure about the hi-hats. Let's see what it sounds like actually without the hi-hats. Just mute those. Verse happens twice, I believe. So this is going to be verse 1a. And I'm going to need to duplicate this. And this is going to be verse 1b. It's going to be kind of neat to pick up the energy in the second half, so bring in the hi-hats for the second half. So verse 1b, and then verse 1a, and then verse 1b. And so for this one, we'll do unmute the hi-hats. This is our chorus here. And that's 8 bars. Good. So I like the snare drum coming in on the chorus, and so oftentimes, just to make sure that I got all my parts here, so this verse, because it has the melody, reference melody and reference chords over there, call this verse rough, and just take the whole scene and scoot it down here so that I've got those clips available for working with if I need them. But otherwise, verse 1a, verse 1b, delete that one and delete that one, and then we go to our chorus. Chorus, chorus 1. And kind of like the snaps coming into the chorus, the snare drum coming into the chorus, leaving the snaps out of these sections here for now. So if I want to keep things clean, I can just delete these for right now, and then I've got the parts down here if I need them as well, because I just made a duplicate. And so I like having the snaps come in at the chorus section. And then I'm wondering about adding the claps for this one so that they are at a lower velocity but still layered underneath the snare drum. And I like to do that for the sake of consistency so that it doesn't just switch to the snare drum entirely. The claps are still in there, but they're at a lower velocity. And I have a lower velocity because I duplicated exactly what the DR110 can do. And I'm going to go ahead and scoot this up here. So drag copy, holding down Option, drag copy. And then I'm going to drag that up to not claps 1, but claps 2, which is a softer clap. This will just be layered gently under the snare drum. Let's see what that sounds like. Oops, hold on. Quite a big difference volume-wise. So let me see what they sound like with and without here. And we'll just turn everybody else off here for a moment. I will turn the bass off too, actually. Nice. So I do like that. It's subtle, but you can definitely hear the difference. Okay, and then I have this post-chorus section here. Let me label this drum groove here chorus. And I have to double check something on my post-chorus because I'm not sure I had it exactly what it needs to be doing here. It looks like I have see what I was playing here. So I gotta fix this because my post chorus is not correct. It's an easy fix. Post. I'll label this one post chorus. And label this beat post chorus. So it ends on the right one, but this one I remember to label my clips too. And then D with transposition. Oh, actually, so yeah, actually it is correct. Let me make sure that I just had done the just revoice the chord for the second one and monologue. That is D. All right, so cool, we're good. And that's bass post, and that's post chords, and that's my snaps. And just want to make sure that I'm clear on these, that these are actually chords. CH. Be careful about mouse flying around there. And stop everybody for a minute here. So I wasn't sure if I was playing the right chords, and then yeah, I was playing the right chords, but I added the first inversion there. So playing that from the top now, and we have a backup here. But let me mute all those. So. And I also want to create a duplicate of the chorus. So Command D and drag that down here for my chorus rough. And again, I'm not using these. These are just backups of some of the performances that I had recorded. And this point now I can play from the top and that's basically my song form right there. So there are some other things I want to play around with now, but I'm ready to drag this into my arrangement view. And when I drag this into my arrangement view, what I want to do is, I'm sorry I wasn't on the screen there. Yeah, but I'm on this screen. Which camera am I on? I don't know. I'm ready to drag this into the arrangement view and actually start structuring the song out. But before I do that, I want to add a little something else to these chorus sections. And then I drag it into my arrangement view. And then I start tracking some of the instruments themselves. Everything but the drums, which I want to... Actually, the drums are virtual here, so I'm not too worried about that. But so let me play around with this. I kind of feeling like another percussion instrument would be nice on the chorus sections. And I'm thinking tambourine. I don't know if that's going to be too cheesy, but kind of what I'm thinking. And then I'm also thinking that I'd like to add another element to the chorus sections in terms of just one more instrument. And I'm not sure. I want something a little dirtier, grungier, a little bit darker sounding. I think I'll see if I can find a tambourine first, and then go from there. And I'm totally cool with using a virtual instrument for this one. And I'm not going to clutter up my Boss drum machine instrument with this. I'm just going to go to my packs. It doesn't really need to be anything special. It's just like a little percussion element in there. But I would like it to sound realistic as opposed to sounding like a drum machine. I kind of thinking I'd like this one to sound more organic. So and you know, I know actually exactly where, I think I know exactly the tambourine I want. There's some Rex loops inside of Reason that are an actual real tambourine that's been played. So let me share that with you and let me see what this sounds like. So I will create a new MIDI, actually create a new audio instrument track here. And I'm going to call this RSN Reason Tambourine. And and I'm going to use an external instrument, so I will go to my external instrument. I'll drag that on there. Oh, sorry. Yeah, external instrument is actually a MIDI instrument. There it is. And tambourine, and I'm going to launch Reason in the background here. Here it comes. I'm going to go and make sure I got some audio coming in here. So instruments, I'm going to use in a Dr. Octarex loop. So let's make sure we've got audio coming in. So my inputs from Reason, or my outputs to Reason, it's going to be to the Dr. Octarex, and from the mix left right channels, yes. And I'm going to clear this out. I don't want all that other stuff in there. Reset device. I'm going to open up a Rex loop. And like I said, I want a tambourine, and they have some great tambourines that were played in here. Reason sounds, actually factory sound bank. Dr. Octarex percussion loops. Tambourine. So that's at 120 at 85. So the tempo on my song is 100 beats per minute. So I don't want to slow it down, but certainly I could speed it up. So let me see what I got here. That one might be too busy. That one might work, so that's 2B. That one's kind of cool. Let me try 2B. I'm going to drag that on there. And when I press play, we should just hear it. Might be too fast. So let's check it with the chorus here. Busy. Let me try a different one. So I can just simply drag in a different one to the same slot here. I can even drag it in while it's playing and see what it sounds like. agree a lot, but I'm going to try something a little less busy just to see what it sounds like. So actually 5B and 4 are both really nice. And 4 is just a simpler version. But what I'm going to do is I want to control this loop from Ableton Live. So here's a great trick here. And actually I'm going to save this because I know what I want now. And this is definitely working, but I need to fix the groove. It's not quite where I want in terms of the groove yet. So File, Save As. I'm going to go and put it in the same folder that I'm working on here. And I'm going to call this the same name as this version here, but with the reason in it. So save that, and I'm going to take this, I'm going to turn off the loop capability here because we don't need that. I'm going to turn off the track here because we don't need the track. I'm going to control everything from Ableton Live, so delete this track. And I'm going to take this, select it, I'm going to go File, Export Rex as MIDI file. So I'm going to take this loop and actually export the loop. There, it's got the name and everything on it. And I'm going to go to my hard drive where I had just saved that song and put it in the same song folder, right? And I'm going to do it because I'm going through this process right now. I'm going to do the same thing here, and I'm going to call this one Rex. Just call this Rex Tam 1. And I'm going to go over here and grab another one. And yes, I'm using 2 of these because they're just going to be both feeding in here, these little sample players from Reason. And I'm going to reset this. And I'll call this Rex Tam 2. This will be the change in the tambourine instrument. So we'll go to factory sounds again. It was percussion loops. And it was tambourine 85. And it was 4. Drag that in. Here we go. And same thing, I'm going to turn it off, turn the loop off. Delete this track here. Actually, just want to delete the track and not the device. Select the device, go File, Export Rex as MIDI file. And that's 4. It's great. See the other one's in there. Save. Boom. And now, File, save this. So now it's just going to live in the background and play my tambourine for me. Once I load in the samples, save, and back to Live, and have to go find my hard drive here because I put it in a hard drive that I haven't added. Hold on. And there are the MIDI files, and I will put them on here. So I'm going to use 4 for my post chorus, and this one for my main chorus. I should be able to play this and have control over that Rex. I have a swing already loaded in here, so I'm going to go ahead and select this, and I'm going to apply my groove to this, MPC 50 groove. Yes, it's a drum machine groove being applied to a real instrument. But that's the sound I want. Call this tambourine, coarse tambourine. And oops, can't spell. And this one is coarse tambourine and tambourine post. And I'm going to apply this here to say MPC groove and double check that. Since it's a percussion instrument, I'm going to go over here and move it over here so that I've got all that done. And I was saying, so I've been at it for an hour and a half, but I do want to, I said at the very least I want to get all those parts in. I want to check and see if there's another part I can add that's a little dirtier and grungier from my sampler. So I'm going to go ahead and do that if I can in the next 15 minutes here, and then that'll be good. So I'm going to use the ASR 10 here for that. And first thing I do before I do anything else, obviously, I will need to make sure that I've created another external instrument here. This is going to be for my ASR 10. I'm going to label that and make sure that the outputs are plugged in somewhere where I can hear it. So come over here. So I got this really cool, the ASR 10 had floppy disks, but I don't want to use floppy disks anymore. So with a little bit of help from Chicken Systems, a company in Minnesota, I set up this. It's a micro SD box that I can load my operating system and everything on, and I've got like over 8 gigabytes of sound files on it that I can go through. And also, I also took all of these old floppy disks, like 80 floppy disks, and converted them to that as well. So there's a Korg monopoly in here, and and I would love to use that. It's a sample of an actual Korg monopoly. So I'll just load up any old sound right now on here. Make sure that we've got sound coming in, and then plug this into my preamp. And I can never remember like what's what, so I have things labeled back here. It's like, okay, so that's coming in from my tie line 1 and 2. Come over here. Tie lines 1 and 2 over here. Here's tie lines 1 and 2. A couple cables. One and 2. And 1 and 2, I will come in here, look, 3 and 4 is available, so just come in 3 and 4 here. 4. Back to input live. Make sure that this is, oh yeah, what MIDI port is this? MIDI port 7. So here, MIDI port 7, channel 1, that's fine. Inputs 3 and 4, and we should have some sounds. There it is, cool. Yeah, I like the way the old Korg monopoly samples. So that the samples sound different than the actual original instrument. They certainly capture the flavor of the original instrument, but just like a one-shot sample, they are a mere shadow of the original instrument. But because it's a sample, it adds some aliasing and grunge, especially if it's sampled at a low resolution. And I have another sample that's 12-bit that I like to use a lot, but at the moment I'm just on the 16-bit ASR. Just my preamp here, make sure that my levels are even. I can always go back and do that in a minute. I'm going to press play on the chorus because that's kind of where I wanted something, is on the chorus section. And before I forget, also, I need to remember to, that was patch 35 on the DW8000. No, 32. Patch 32 on the DW8000. And I need to make a note to myself that the right side, there was a short on the right side short. So when I do get back to tracking it, I double check that. Keeping notes on the tracks, especially when you're working on lots of stuff at the same time. Got to keep some notes. So there it is. Got the information is there. That's great. Back to the ASR 10. Save what I've got here so far, and press play and see on the chorus and see if I. I don't know if that's the sound I want. So I'm going to just poke around here and see if there's something else I want. So I've got bass lines, I got chords, so some sort of effect sound would be nice. It's kind of cool. So that was a dual percussion sample. I'm curious to know what this cello sounds like from a Korg monopoly from 1980. That's the aliasing I'm talking about. That's great. That's such fantastic grunge. That's the thing I've noticed, is that this stuff's out of tune. Some of these old samples are out of tune. So here's another reason to bring in, where is that guy? Audio effects. Tuner. Yeah, way flat. Way flat. So flat I can't even find out whether I like the sound or not. This is somewhat flat. So I had to go into the instrument and tune it. Geez, I don't remember how to do this. Pitch. Sounds like there's two layers in this. It's not just one layer. So layer 1 and layer 2. Oh, see, there are two layers. So I'm gonna. There we go. So select both layers, tune. That one I don't like. Let's see what else we had here. Cello, ensemble, brass. Space? What does that sound? Cool. All right. That's the sound I was looking for. Dirty, grungy synth sound. That's what I want. So, delete those other things. I already tuned it. No. So, yes, copy that to MIDI channel 1. A little bit sharp. just got to figure out the part I want to play. I'll do a quick mock-up on that and then call it a day. That works. Let's get that recorded. These are just eighth notes. Save myself some time here. I think, yeah, we're good. Eighth note quantize on. Let's see if I can get that. I'm going to push over here to my session view so that I can see what track I'm recording on. And there it is. Metronome is on. Couple notes up. That was pretty close. Anything else that I messed up, I can just quickly fix those. Assuming I recorded them. Didn't record them. What did I do wrong? Audio input 3, 4. Hold on. I hadn't actually recorded anything, and for some reason, Ableton Live is not seeing my MIDI input. to go over here to go to my preferences and make sure that it's got my MIDI input coming from MIDI. That's why it's turned off from MIDI port 7. Input from 7. There it is. All right. Input port from 7, and let's try that again. I don't know what I was playing. That was it. Just adding some delay on that for some nice grungy, little simple sample tone in there. And I'm happy with that. I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that. I'm going to make sure that I've labeled this here. And so I'm going to get info on this. And this was called Monopoly File 18 Synth. And I tuned it, and I definitely want to save that tuning. So I'm going to select it and go save this instrument. Just overwrite the other one. I don't need to keep anything that's not in tune here. And this came from actually from a sound library. I'm going to save it. I think I just saved it. Saved it in the wrong spot. Hold on. Monopoly, yes. Save instrument, yes. Delete old version, yes. And also, exit to root. Also going to save it in my, I think I had something around here for writing. Lots of buttons to press. The problem is when you're not on these all the time, you end up forgetting
what it is that you were supposed to be doing. So in terms of where things are stored, especially with these archives, not nearly as easy as looking at a computer screen. Change storage device. Alright, so that's saved. And that's saved. That adds exactly that little bouncy kind of old school grungy synth that I wanted in there, so that's great. I know some people had to log out here. And with that, I gotta get going too here. And I beat the timer on, I'm always seem to run a half hour behind, don't I? But I did beat the timer on the GoPro, which is probably going to end any moment here. But that should do it for today. I'm going to drag these over into the arrangement window next time and get things set up to finish the drums and then start the vocals. Thanks for being here. Everybody else that stayed here for as long as they could, thank you. And those of you who stayed until the bitter end, yes, more power to you. All right, I'm gonna get going, guys. Ciao.